All right, I think we're live now. What's up, sports fans? Ryan here. This is the DFS 5-pack, so I hope your Thursday, your 2nd of September, is just off to a lovely start today, guys. We got ourselves a night slate tonight. Bellman got that day slate for you, so we're going to run through this night one really quickly. We're going to roll members-only style, but this one should be pretty easy to get through quickly. Let's start with our weather today. No real concerns of note. Green, yellow in Colorado, so nothing here that you want to pay too much attention to. As far as like the Pirates and Cubs game, there is, winds coming in from left center, so it's going to be advantage pitcher tonight. I don't know, maybe worth noting for some of you. Some of you guys might not care. All right, let's move on to pitching tonight. Let's start with Carlos Carrasco. He is coming in projected to be overwhelming chalk this evening. And while I think this makes a lot of sense, given the matchup and the price and everything like that, I could definitely get on board pivoting here for a couple of reasons. One, he's still not on a monster pitch count. So, yes, he got through the last game in 78 pitches, but that was 7 innings, so that was probably the time to take him out. I don't think he's capped at 80 or anything like that. I bet you can go up into 90, but you're not going to see this dude throw 120 pitches right here. Not that I'm saying anybody else will, but he's not going to be on the longest workload of all time. Also, just on pure ownership alone, like you should see Cookie coming in 2/3, 3/4 owned. It's going to be real chalky right here. So if you want to go with the Braves, for example, who are also going to be insane chalk tonight, like maybe pivoting off of Carrasco or picking a couple of Marlins bats against him. He hasn't been perfect since coming back. Hasn't had monster totals. I think it makes a lot of sense to try to get different here, especially if you want to roll with the Braves. So the pitcher's getting love. I think it's kind of ranked number 1 Cookie, then McClanahan, and then like Erod and Minor are kind of like right in the same ballpark. The guy that I'm interested in is nothing more than riding the hot hand against a bad team in a good ballpark, and that's going to be Tristan McKenzie. I know Matt is not a monster fan of McKenzie as he watches him all the time, but he has been nothing short of magnificent over his last 15 innings. 19 strikeouts to 3 hits. The other thing is when he faced Kansas City right before the All-Star break, he absolutely dominated them as well. This is a great park to pitch in. He's a decent enough fly ball pitcher. This is a really good place for him to pitch. So I think taking McKenzie at lower ownership right there than those other guys, or at least, projected lower ownership than those other guys, is a really interesting play. Could he come back down to earth tonight? Yeah, definitely. That is absolutely something that is going to happen eventually, if not as soon as tonight. But I think just based on the fact that he's not supposed to get a ton of love at this price, and a lot of other people will think this is fool's gold, I think that's an interesting way to go. You can play him over Carrasco, over McClanahan. I don't love Mike Minor at all. He's going to get a little too much love today. I mean, I get it at his price. Mitch Keller will also get some love today with the wind blowing in against a really bad Cubs team. I don't think using some Cubs pieces is crazier, even with the wind blowing in. So the two things that will be beyond chalky tonight are going to be Carlos Carrasco at pitcher and the entire Atlanta Braves offense. All right. If I do set one lineup tonight, I'm going to use McKenzie. And I'll probably end up using Carrasco on this one, depending on how aggressive and assertive I want to be with Atlanta. So let's start talking about the offenses right here in the Miami versus New York. These are two very bad offenses in the Marlins and the Mets. Zach Thompson has pitched well this year, so I don't really want to pick on him. He's not a guy who's very DFS viable because he has no strikeout stuff, but he doesn't give up a ton of hard contact. So this is just not really a game for me. Could you pull pieces from it? Of course. Of course you could. A couple of decent, if you want to look at a couple of Marlins pieces, for example, against the uber chalk Carrasco, Alfaro, a catcher in the outfield. He's had a better second half, or at least a better last month. You got Brinson, who's still really, really cheap. Couple of singles the day before, so he stole a base the other day. I mean, I get this one. Chisholm is a guy with good upside, good power, good speed. I probably wouldn't stack the Marlins flat out, but they're going to get no love today with how chalky Carrasco is. So a couple of smaller pieces could be a way to separate you, especially if you're using the ATL stack. Boston against Tampa, we got Erod versus McClanahan. McClanahan's expensive. He's been good this year. It's not a perfect matchup or anything like that, but this guy did shell out 26 points against Boston before. He's had a lot of starts against Baltimore. I think fading him at this price makes sense. I completely get that. He's going to be pretty popular. The guy from Tampa I wanted to take a look at was going to be Brandon Lau. 5,200, really good career numbers off of Erod. Where are those? It's a small sample size, but 4 of 11 with 3 home runs is pretty significant. The other thing is, Erod often owns reverse splits against left-handed pitching or left-handed hitters, and Lau would be a left-handed hitter. So I think that's an interesting one. Outside of that, I do think that Tampa Bay could be a sleeper stack tonight. I'm an Erod fan, but he has not been great this year at all. Like, he got lit up by Texas. He started to gain form for a few starts here, but mostly for this season, he's not been very good. So I do think Tampa Bay is a little interesting. I would have trouble like really shoving a bunch of money in on that one, but they are a good offense. Rosarina, and the boys and stuff like that. Like, I get this one. I probably won't end there, but I understand it. All right, Pittsburgh against Chicago. Not excited about anything about this game. These teams are terrible. The pitchers are bad. The offenses are bad. The guy that I would not be hesitant to check out. So, like, Freddie Freeman's going to be big chalk, and then it's going to go to Crone. Schwindel at first base, 3 straight games with a home run, only 3,300. This can help you build the rest of your lineup. Like, if you really want to stack Atlanta, almost all Atlanta stacks are going to have Freddie Freeman. So stack another 5 guys and play Schwindel. That could be a look for you. Other than that, man, these teams are terrible. It is hard to get very excited about these guys. Even like a Brian Reynolds, who's having a great year, has been pretty cold recently. I don't know. There's bad teams. Cleveland against Kansas City. Minor against McKenzie. I've already told you about how I thought about McKenzie. I do think Cleveland makes for an interesting stack. So the last game in Coors Field is going to get all of the ownership offensively. Anybody you use outside of Coors Field will be very, very low owned. I think Cleveland is a team that I'm looking at very, very closely. And what I mean by that is on this one right here too, like, you could probably play these two together, and then Cleveland would have enough cheap pieces to make this one work. Because guys like Bradley, 3,100, all the second basemen. Ramirez is expensive, and you're going to want him. Rosario's expensive, and Reyes is expensive. But even the outfielders are dirt cheap. So you can play whatever pitchers you want and stack Cleveland. As of right now, as of 1:24 Central Standard Time, my offensive choice outside of Coors Field is going to be Cleveland against Mike Minor. Minor is not a scrub, but he has not had a good year. ERA over 5. Multiple home runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts. This is a spot I could get on board with them. Again, are you going to love it? Probably not. But you're not going to love any of these offenses outside of Coors Field. Now, all the chalk comes from Atlanta today. d'Arnaud, Freeman, Albies is day-to-day, so he may not be in there. Riley, Swanson, Duvall, the entire outfield, Soler, Peterson, these guys are all going to be really, really chalky. The entire Atlanta team is going to be overwhelming chalk. They go up against Chichi Gonzalez tonight, who is another one of these pitchers who isn't good, but does get underrated by the public. And all I mean by that is, when you talk about Chichi Gonzalez, people think of him as the worst pitcher that the world's ever seen. That's a bit of a stretch. He's not good. Trust me, he's not good at all. But there's no reason that he can't get through 5 tonight with 3 earned runs allowed. So if you're just looking to be different, he does. He's not good. I don't want to pretend like I'm saying he is, but Atlanta's going to be so crazy chalk. You can check out the bottom of their lineup to be a little bit different. The other idea, like, is picking on Tukey with Colorado. It's not nearly as exciting, and Colorado will get ownership, especially Brendan Rodgers with Albies being out more than likely. You can use him at second. But there'll be maybe a third of the ownership of Atlanta, which is still higher than all the other teams, but is going to be very low owned. So in cash games, you play Cookie Carrasco, and you get every piece of Atlanta that you can. In GPPs, I wouldn't completely fade Atlanta, but maybe you only pull a couple of your favorite pieces. So that's the way I look at it, guys. I'm thinking McKenzie at pitcher just to be different in GPPs and cash games. You're looking at Cookie, Carrasco, and then maybe like McClanahan if you can get up there. Otherwise, Mike Minor will get a little love, as will Keller. So I don't know. That's what today is, guys. Thank you and have a good one.